Hello, welcome to the video. So I just want to talk a little bit about the phrase firstborn, how it's used in the Bible versus only child or only son, something along those lines. So the reason I want to talk about this because if we go to Luke, let's see here, Luke 2:7. And she, referring to Mary, brought forth her firstborn son, wrapped him in swaddling clothes, and laid him in a manger, because there was no room for them in the inn. Now, the Roman Catholic understanding of this is that it's just the first naturally born son, and that's it. There's no more children, okay? And when I looked up every single instance of firstborn, it's used 147 times in the Bible. I looked up every single instance, which is what you see here. So this column right here is all the verses. So the green is the word firstborn and the name of the person. Okay, firstborn was Manhassan. Okay, and so every time it's used, okay, first of all, there's a spiritual sense, and then there's a natural sense. Okay, so the spiritual sense, when a person becomes born again, they become born of Christ, right? Remember, Father, in your hands commit my spirit, and now people become born again. They become one with Christ. So that makes Jesus your firstborn. Okay, he was the firstborn, and everybody's born of him after that. Okay, so there's a spiritual sense. Okay, but then there's a natural sense of firstborn, and I think that's what's going on here in Luke 2:7. She talk about the natural, her firstborn son. So what did that mean in a natural sense? So I looked up all 147 instances and examined every one of them. And it always implied that there is a second along with it, okay? And sometimes the firstborn can be switched around by a father, okay? So the first one born out of the womb is firstborn, but the father can choose to give the rights to a different person, descendant, than the first one that was born out of the womb. So the firstborn oftentimes the firstborn that comes out of the womb, they get these rights, special rights to family. And so, but the father can choose a different person. That's what's going on here. So anyway, I looked up every single instance, and it always implies there was at least a second person. Okay, so there might be a younger. I'm trying to find a verse that makes it very clear here. There's a lot of verses here. So like here, okay, firstborn among the sons of Israel. Okay. So that's plural. Okay, there's always at least a second. Again, firstborn of the sons. Okay, it's always a second. Here, let's try this. Oops. So, okay. All right, so Zechariah was the firstborn, and then there was the second. Okay, Jediel. Okay, the second. Okay, let's see here. There's more examples of that. But anyway, the bottom line is the common denominator in the natural sense. There's always a second. Okay, Ashbel the second, Abigail the second. Okay. There was always more than one whenever the term firstborn was used in the natural sense. It never referred to only child, okay? So I looked up passages where it implies only child. Not one single one of them refers to Mary having the only one child, okay? So I looked up every single example, and nothing suggests that. So the only way a person could possibly conclude that Luke 2:7, that Mary had only one son, based on the term firstborn, it has to be based on the eisegesis, presuppositions from outside paradigm, outside of the Bible, and brought into the text, twisting the scripture mold around that paradigm. And so the Roman Catholic paradigm is that Mary the perpetual virgin, she's having more kids. But if a person puts away all presuppositions, just let the Bible do the talking, you'll see that's just not the case. So Luke here, he obviously writes this long after Mary's done with having kids, okay? This is after Christ's ministry. He given an account of Christ's birth based on what he heard on their oral traditions, okay? He obviously was not there, okay? And the fact that he used the term firstborn son in the natural sense, he's not talking in a spiritual sense here at all, okay? This is natural sense. Suggests that Luke, based on the oral traditions, believed that Mary, the word she here referring to Mary, had more than one son. Okay? And so if a person just let the Bible do the talking and go through every single example, how it's used, you'll see that it cannot be referring to an only child, okay? Like here, the whole family tree I put together, the first passage, Genesis 10:15, and every one of these, it implies there's more than one person, okay? Let's go through this. So the point I'm trying to make is, if we want the author's intent of the scripture, we have to do our due diligence. So Hebrews 11:6, God is rewarded those who diligently seeks him. So that entails diligently looking up all 147 usages of the word and trying to obtain the author's intent, seeing how it's used, their consistencies, their natural versus the spiritual, that I pointed out earlier. And in the natural, what's the consistency within natural? And then within the spiritual, what's the consistency there? And so I conclude that Luke 2:7 cannot possibly mean that Jesus was the only child of Mary. That's not what it means at all. If you go online and read the question, can the firstborn refer to the only child? And this is what I get. I get one answer here, and I got another answer here. I copied and pasted what I got. So in the Bible, the term firstborn does not necessarily mean the literal one born first. It can have different connotations, and knowing the meaning can help us understand various scriptures. Additionally, according to Roman law, an adopted person is considered as being born again into the new family. That's kind of interesting. Another answer, in the Bible, the term firstborn can be used both literally and metaphorically, spiritually. It is often used to express God's affection for an individual group, but it's not used to refer to an only child. It is never referred to an only child, okay? So, so again, it's, and the same with Matthew. So whoever wrote this was long after Mary would finish having children. It's very clear that they understood, when they're using the phrase firstborn in a natural sense, if they're the first, then there's a second. Kind of like first resurrection. John used the term first resurrection, book of Revelation. That implied there's a second resurrection. So the first one was physical, natural, and the second one spiritual, okay? And so it's the same thing going on here. If there's a second born child, then that means there's a first. If they're the firstborn child, then that means there's at least a second, if not more. And so every instance, it's at least a second. In some cases, it'll point out plural, like and his son, or let's see here. Actually, that doesn't apply to there. Let's see here. There are times. Okay, there you go. A second. Here's multiple listed out after the firstborn. The second, again, had 5 sons-in-law after the first, or four sons. If you don't count, or you count the first. There are times where you term sons plural. I'm trying to find a verse that has that. But anyway, I looked and to his son plural. Okay, so firstborn amongst sons, plural there, okay? So the bottom line is that the Roman Catholic interpretation is just not valid if you just let the scripture do the talking, if you're trying to pursue the author's intent. Again, the only way you can claim this is only child is you're developing your theology based on outside paradigm, fallible, non-inspired sources, and you're taking that with you into the scripture, naturally doing eisegesis, and that is so common. So anyway, so I have every single verse that gone through, every single verse that has the phrase firstborn son, and it does not mean what the Roman Catholics want it to mean. It just does not mean that. Alrighty? So that's all I have to say. So thank you very much for watching, and hope you have a great rest of the day.